This is Tom Colley for Through the Ropes Boxing. It's an absolute pleasure to be joined with boxing promoter, manager, Dillian Whyte. Dean, how's things?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on, my man.
No problem at all. Just saying off air, I know I've been chasing you for a while, Dean. So it's nice to get you tied down, and I appreciate you making the time.
Good. It's a good job, man. Sorry,
come and speak to
took a little bit long, but you know what? Perseverance is a big character, you know, to get, and obviously persevered, and we're here now. So, yeah.
Appreciate it. How's things? Did you get a chance to watch the big British heavyweight title showdown on the weekend?
Yeah. Good show. Some good fights. I did expect a little bit more from Vidal Riley, I must admit. You know, I kind of touted him quite highly. I understand in boxing, though, sometimes you got to pick your battles wisely in terms of who you fight. But his corner was saying the same thing. Sometimes hold your feet just a little bit and pick your shots and just dig them in a little bit harder. And I think they were giving him the right advice. But after the fight, he said, listen, man, he crunched me to the body one time. And he said he was very heavy-handed. He said, listen, I'm having none of this. I'm not listening to no one. And sometimes it's like that. When you're in there fighting, you got to listen to yourself because they're not getting clumped on the chops, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's one of them. But, you know, I did expect a little bit more from him. And then now, obviously, we see the rival with him and Isaac Chamberlain. Looks like that fight's going to, you know, materialize now. But I think he boxed really well. He boxed fluid, good movement to move for 10 rounds like that. And against a puncher like Lewis, obviously, you don't want to hold your feet too. But I think he could have made a little bit more of a statement and dug in some shots to the body and slipped like he was doing or punching on the exits, what he was doing, because he's rolling and making him miss, but he didn't really make him pay. But look, great clean sweep win. That was a good fight. I think Chris Congo done exceptionally well. Boxed to make Marky look very pedestrian. Great fight from Fabio Wardley and Frazer. And who else was on that card? Of the Babbage is back, great stoppage as well. So I mean, all round it looked quite packed in their decent card. So yeah.
The just on the Vidal Riley fight. I mean, obviously talking about now the fight with Chamberlain. Chamberlain's been around in the pro ranks for some time now. He's fought lights with Bacoli. He's been in there. Riley's sort of on the way up. So sort of a bit of a crossover there in their careers. I know they're sort of going to be at a similar sort of level in terms of where they're fighting. But you see it going if that fight does get made with Chamberlain having a bit more experience.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a very tough fight. Chamberlain's from the ends, man. So I've got to kind of stick with my man. I actually do really like Vidal as well. I wish him more, and I think he's got a good career ahead of him. But, you know, I'd prefer they didn't fight, you know, because I like both gentlemen, but sometimes the business part of the game's got to go in. But Isaac's from the end, represents, you know, was my son's friend and stuff. So, and he's from the manor. So it's you know, I've got to show love and respect and be rooting for our guys as well, you know what I mean, from our neck of the woods. I mean, it's definitely an intriguing, good fight. I think he said he's fractured his rib potentially, Vidal. So that fight might not take place for a while. But, you know, it's going to be a good fight. You can see he can box and move. Isaac's very tough, you know, boxes and moves well as well. I think it's going to be, I think obviously Isaac has more than Lewis. Lewis is a big bruiser, looks for the big punches, the hooks. I think Isaac will pose different obstacles in there for Vidal. So it'll be interesting. I think it's a good fight. If he obviously they're saying he was running, but movement is part of boxing. He did move a hell of a lot. How does Isaac handle that kind of movement? Because normally he gets fights where there's like a phone booth and they sit in the pocket and everyone has a little bit of movement. But someone who boxes and moves like that, it does pose its problems, you know what I mean? Because you've got to chase them, then you can walk onto shots. But I think it's a good fight for both guys. I mean, for Isaac, slightly, like you said, he's been around the block for a long time. Vidal's just come and he's literally at the same level, you know. But there was a lot of stagnantness in Isaac's career as he's, you know, loads of things happened to him. It's only really taken off now. So, but yeah, I think it's still a decent fight, man. In the domestic scene right now, cruiserweight, there's so much talent around that little level. So it's some good fights for these boys to make.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would tune in for that one. It'd be a good one between Chamberlain and Riley. Moving on to the main event, Dean. Obviously, Dillian manages Fabio. Unbelievable rise that he's come from with the white collar and goes in there against Frazer Clarke. I know a lot's been made of that in fight week as well. He was obviously the Olympian. What a war them two put on. So unbelievable heart. I mean, how impressed were you?
I think I was just talking about it today. I was saying for boxing terms, I think it was a win for actual boxing, because when you look at the dynamics, when you say an Olympian, it's the pinnacle of the GB boxing squad to get to such a stage. Not a lot of them get to such a stage. You get a man who's in white collar. I see a lot of the guys in the gym, white collar man. They're saying this is their champion for their their scene. They're like, look, this is us. We can do this. We don't need to go to the bloody Olympics. We don't need to go and get bronze or whatever he got. We could be a white collar guy. I said, mate, that's probably a very rare, small percentage that can actually do that. He's a special quantity that he can go. He can take a punch. He can give a punch. He packs a hell of a punch, as we saw. I think nearly every time he hit Frazer, he kind of shook him to his core, and you could see Frazer. He punched him, his gum shield came out, and then a few other times, Frazer's been around the block. He spat the gum shield out to bide more time. He got an extra 15 seconds because he put him in the corner, put water on it, and then he sent him back into the other corner. Very smart tactics to garner extra, because both of them was literally gone on their feet fumes. You know what I mean? So, I mean, listen, great credit to both guys in there on the night. Put a hell of a show on for us, but we're still that. Coming back from a man who's Olympian, went to the European Games, went to the Olympics, done all that. For this guy to have 4 white collar fights, I think I thought a draw or Fabio could have won it by 1 point, because you got to look at the knockdown and then you look at the point deduction. I felt like, obviously a couple early rounds, Frazer was very sharp, but then, Fabio came into that, and then I felt like a draw, maybe Fabio by 1. So, when you look at it like that, man, it's a great credit for him, what he's achieved, but it's great for boxing, because it's a classic British fight for the British and Commonwealth title. And, man, it'll probably go down in the history books, a bloody, gory fest, And they left nothing left in them in the tank.
Do you want to see it again? Do you think we'll get that fight again?
Yeah, I think it's a good fight again, but it's all about finances. Do they, have they got the funds to pay for a rematch? Is a question down to Ben Shalom and Boxer. Obviously, I'm sure if they do it again, they're going to want bigger money, because they know it's a hard fight. And, to put yourself through that again, you need to be paid handsomely. So that's the next posing question, is that, or is there another fight that's, potentially there that he could take and do, or does he go on to the European title and look for something else? Do you know what I mean? Because like I said, that fight is probably going to be close every single time. I heard some people saying Frazer might go away and make adjustments, but equally Fabio might go away and make adjustments. If truth be told, that cut what he sustained on his nose, I've seen that for many fights. He's had that cut, so I believe that's an old injury. Obviously, it's just a reoccurring injury. So if he sorts that injury out, that helps him without that blood all over his nose, all over his face, to help him fight and box better. So in essence, that would give him a little bit more impetus as well, because all that blood everywhere, all that carrot didn't help him in that fight. It just looked messy. Probably couldn't see, probably couldn't breathe properly. There's loads of factors, but he just swung it out and banged out, man, and he just stuck in there, man. He was not going for love nor money.
That's like we say, that's sort of something that Wardley's shown throughout his career. I mean, when Dillian sort of met Wardley in the early days, and brother Dillian manages him, he must have seen something in him from the early days with the limited experience that he had, and gone and done what he's done. Something in the gym, I don't know.
Yeah, no, he used to come down there and just like he said, just give it his all, and I'm sure he's seen he can crack. Bit of a personality. And he's just gone from strength to strength, man. You know what I mean? I think he's done exceptionally well. He's done good. He's got the Ipswich football team behind him, and he's just gone from strength to strength. I think I'm looking at stuff I think he still can improve on, but he's still a bit raw. When you look at both guys' skill set, you could see that one with the more experience in terms of how they actually box as a technical boxer, and one who doesn't have that experience in boxing, but he has heart, determination, and that unorthodoxness makes it awkward for man fighting him also, because it's unpredictability and how he wings his shots and where he sends it from. He does slip the shots good and sends that right in, because that right, what he slips and sends in, it sends shudders through these guys' body, because every time that hit my man's head, you can see he stumbled back. But Frazer's tough old boots as well. He took them and he kind of just, he ate them up, man, some of them shots. You know what I mean? The flurries Fabio did as well when he had nothing in there was brilliant as well. But I don't know, man. Those guys have made us some real stuff. That I'm looking back, trying to remember that fight. It was decent.
For sure. And you mentioned earlier as well, Alan Babbage making his ring return after back of his defeat, Bridgerweight. But a lot been made, and potentially he was a bit weight drained at that weight. He looked back to his best again at heavy. I mean, but how far can Alan Babbage go at heavyweight? He's definitely going to cause a few problems.
Do you know what? I think Babbage's problem in that fight was he tried to box. He got a new coach. He got one of these American guys who's teaching him to box, to go behind his jab. That is not what the Babbage Savage is about. And he just came a cropper. He should have literally just done what he usually does, come out swinging and just try to go for it. He tried to box, and this guy just tornadoed him. He Babbaged him, basically. I think Robertson, I don't know, I think he's done that, kid, man. He had nothing in there. I thought there would have been a bit more substance to him. He's tough as old boots in terms of that aspect, but there was just nothing in his boxing ability. His jab was slow as tortoise. I thought he would have been a bit more, that could have been boxed behind his jab to give Babbage a little bit more trouble. The only trouble Babbage had is that he was very stubborn and resistant. And the ref had to do the job to pull him out because he worked, his corner weren't going to do it, and he wasn't going to do it. Look, he got the win. He got 6 rounds under his belt, and then he just moves on. But I just feel like there was really nothing in his shots. His jab didn't have anything behind him. His hooks, his uppercuts, what he's trying. There was not a lot on any of his shots. He looked extremely tired from the first bell in round 1. By the end of that round, he looked half shattered. You know what I mean? But look, I don't know what he's going through. Maybe it could have been nerves. But he's got a lot to do in himself. But for Babbage, it's a good comeback fight. He gets a stoppage. But I think he needs to be pick the right fights for him. I think heavyweight might be a bit too far, but that Bridgerweight thing can work for him, and he can come again and fight guys just a little bit smaller. But then he loses his speed because against the bigger guys, he has the element of speed. So it's a bit tricky. It's just about matchmaking. If they can match him well and putting him in with guys that are suitable to his style, they can benefit. You know what I mean? But it's nice to see him back, man. For sure.
And he always brings the excitement, doesn't he, Babbage? But moving on, Dean, to your brother Dillian. Great to see him back in the ring with Christian Hammer. The other week got a few rounds in. I know Dillian wasn't best pleased afterwards that Hammer sort of didn't really show up to fight. I mean, he's been around the block, Hammer, and he's given some good guys good fights in the past. But he didn't seem to. Well, I mean, Dillian sort of said it all after the fight. What did you make of it?
Look, I look at it like this, man. Look, Dillian's a big old bruiser, punching 7 bells out of him. Them punches probably hurt. He probably wasn't at the races. Some nights you're at the races and some nights you're not. So I think he just probably weren't there. He was getting the shit punched out of him and just thought, listen, I've had enough. You know what I mean? He maybe feels like he's not getting paid enough to get this kind of dirt dished against him. I've tried my luck. I know it's not my night. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead, in terms of finances, and take me cash and run for it. Because, you know what I mean? Some guys have got, they want to go out on their shield and they'll go all the way. And obviously on that night, he just really weren't with it. Obviously, Dillian was swinging some big overhands, meaty body shots, and that was probably taking his toll. So he probably didn't want to get knocked out cold. Dillian was wishing probably for a great highlight reel knockout comeback, but it wasn't to be. But I think, look, he's good that he's come back. He's had that fight. I think he needs to be as active as possible. I think he needs a few more fights for him to, get his ring rust off and get that sharpness back, get his activity game up, and then he can go in there. You got the call out from Joseph Parker. What a spectacle. That was really good. Obviously, they put a lot of time, thought, and effort into making that. But I'd say at this junction, Joseph Parker is someone who's one of the most improved guys right now. He's on the resurgent. He's having a new lease of life under Andy Lee. And I think, that's not a fight at this junction, I don't think. But look, I don't make those decisions down to his team. But I'm sure they're smart enough to look at it and see it for what it is. You try and hit a man while he's down and get him while he can, because once they're not, they become back to their full capabilities, then it becomes a harder proposition. But I mean, he's had some great wins. Deontay Wilder, and most people didn't think he was going to win that. Zhang, another brilliant win, because Zhang stopped Joe. Joe stopped him. So if you did the maths, you'd think Zhang would have steamrolled him. And I'm not lying, it was actually pretty close because Zhang got him down twice. I don't think it's just Zhang didn't have that fitness to push on, to get the combinations, to get him out of there. Because if he did, and he even just swung out like Fabio did a few times, he might have got him out of there. But I mean, Joe did exceptionally well, got past that. But I mean, Joe's looking good, he's looking strong, he's looking fit. And, you know, he's had some good wins. He beat that undefeated guy, Dempsey McCain, as well. So he's had about 4 or 5 good, solid wins.
He's on a roll.
Yeah, he's on a great roll. So, you know, if you're a smart man, you'd say to yourself, well, I can see what the game plan is there. You want to pick me off on that little list and try and get your, you know, easy, you know, redemption for yourself. But, you know, I'm not going to play that fiddle. I'll come back when I'm good and ready. And that's, I think, for me, I think if Dillian's and his team smart, they should maybe look at fighting Dempsey McKean and slowly picking their self back up and going round and build the same trajectory and come back to activeness. Pick McKean, pick Joe Joyce. You know what I mean? Maybe have someone before, then Dempsey McKean, then Joe Joyce, and then you're on a roll. You try and be as active as you can in the next 4 months. If you can get that activity, then now you're in a position to look at it and say, well, look, I've had so much back-to-back fights. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling sharp. You know, I'm in, you know, good headspace, and then look at something like that. But I'm not sure which way they're going to go. I think we kind of briefly touched on the Joe Joyce and some other guys, but I don't know what they're going to decide. I'm sure they'll do whatever they feel is suitable. Obviously, the Saudi money is being thrown about, so everyone's looking to cash in and want to get on that wave. You know what I mean? So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I've seen some talk of the Joe Joyce fight. There's been talk of the AJ rematch, and then of course Joseph Parker. But yeah, understandably, like you're saying, Dillian's probably gonna. I mean, Dillian will fight anyone, we know that. But I mean, he'll probably want to, you know, work his way back up and, you know, have a couple of fights to get himself in peak condition. But
exactly,
I'd say what he'll do. You know, Dillian won't turn down a fight. We know
that's it.
But I think Joe would be.
Honestly, you know what I mean? I think the best thing is to be smart. You know, it's the smart game. As you're getting older, you got to be more smarter. You know, there's brawns, but brains is always gonna outwit you in the end. So, you know, as you get older, you slow down and stuff. The mileage of all these fights, just like with Derek Chisora. So you got to play the long game, the smart game. But like I said, sometimes you do get drawn out, and that video could be a potential drawn out. But I've seen him saying some things, so I don't think they're gonna fall into that little trap. So let's see.
Of course, he's just at the start of a rebuilding journey, Dean. But is the ambition for Dillian, do you think, still to get that next world title shot once he's had a few rebuilding fights?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if one of those guys, there's talk of Hrgovic and Daniel Dubois fighting for the vacant IBF title, I saw somewhere. I don't know how true that is and what happens with that because of the Fury and Usyk fight. I'm not sure what happens, why they're saying one of those belts will be vacant, but if that is the case and that does happen, I'm sure he'd be looking at like thinking, well, I need to get in on an opportunity to fight the winner of one of those. But yet again, it boils down to activity. So, you know what I mean? I think you just got to stay on top of your job and be ready when an opportunity arises. Because, you know, like I said, as you get older, things start to become harder. Reflexes, your how you think and move, everything slows down, as we saw with David Haye as well. As he got older, he started to break down with injuries in camps and stuff. So everyone's getting older. I think all the boys across the board really, but because of inactivity, all this time he's had out here and there, he just needs to just get back in there and just do what he needs to do. And the best Dillian Whyte is an active Dillian Whyte, fighting as much as possible.
Dean, I'd have to get your thoughts as well. Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, the undisputed clash. Well, I see that one going. A lot made of it.
It's a really good fight, man. When's it's coming up in May now? Was it May the 18th or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, May the 18th. It's a good fight coming up, man. Look, I like Fury. I like Usyk. I mean, Usyk's great for the sport. He's duffed in my man AJ a couple of times. I weren't too impressed with that. We want revenge. You know, the man them on the ends. We wanted all them belts here. But he's done a number on him. But look, I think AJ's looking pretty good for a rematch in that as well under Ben. Going back to Fury, I think it's a good fight. I think that Fury didn't deliver against Ngannou, and AJ, as we saw, over-delivered in that fight and absolutely poleaxed him. We all want to see that AJ and Fury fight, you know. But let me try and think what I'm trying to say. Yeah, no, I'm going to be rooting with what's his name, Fury. I'm just trying to think where I was, but I'm a fan of Usyk for his skill set, for his mindset, for what he's done and achieved as a boxer in a whole, as an amateur, undisputed as a cruiserweight and now unified as a heavyweight man is a great achievement. I mean, it's not an easy fight. I really hope Tyson Fury is taking this very seriously and doesn't come up short in this fight. This guy is a little bit of a matrix. He's had a good long time now to put that solid heavyweight weight on and box and move and do stuff. But I don't think he's faced really anyone as big as Tyson Fury, you know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. I think Tyson Fury is, if there's someone that can box and move and keep him on the end of a jab, it's potentially Tyson Fury. But he's a southpaw, moves well. You know, shot selection is good. But yet again, Tyson Fury is good at kind of leaning on them, using his dirty boxing and doing stuff. But I'll be rooting for him anyway.
Do you think he stops Usyk?
No.
No, points.
Yeah, I think it'll be a points.
Moving on to your promotion, Dean, Black Box Global. I think I see that the next show is coming up for June.
Yeah, so we got June the 8th. We've got penciled in. Still got some stuff to sort out with the board with that. But yeah, that's the date we've got. Yeah, it's going really well. Stuff, you know, the last show was at February the 16th. Alfie Clarke won the IBO U4 title. And we're trying to build on from that. We was trying to get another title for June the 8th. We had an opponent in mind, but then I don't know, something's happened to him, so he's gone for Alfie. So we've got to go back to the drawing board and look. But yeah, we're working. We've got a show May the 11th, but that's like a charity stuff for kids and like a, you know, exhibition-y kind of show we got coming up in memory of my son that passed a little while ago. So we're trying to keep his name alive with kids and the community and giving back with them and bringing kids in and, you know, making them climb the ladder, you know, doing that, getting them skills, going on into amateurs, going from there into pros and so on. So we're building a community get together and stuff, and in memory of him. So it's all hand in hand. But that's May the 11th, and then we got June the 8th. So we got a busy couple of months, man. So it's good times right now, man. It's very trying because there's a lot of matchmaking to be done for both shows. So we're just all over the shop, you know. But yeah, nevertheless, it's what it is to be a promoter, you know.
Yeah, it's unbelievable the work you're doing and with the grassroots stuff that you do as well, Dean. It really is, and boxing needs that as well. What do you see next for Alfie, Dean? Do you see that Alfie can go all the way in the sport?
Yeah, he's still young. He's 24. I think he's learning. He's definitely getting better. Obviously, he was with Johnny Edwards before. He'd done a good job and got him to where he was. As with Xavier Miller, Xavier's, you know, teaching him new tricks and getting him a lot better. As we saw in some of the fights, he got a good uppercut stoppage or knockdown, and then he got the guy out of there. He's had a few good stoppages, and he had a great performance against a very competent opponent to win the IBO U4 title. He's still got a lot of learning and developing, growing. When you look at the likes of Bam Bam and those guys down the line, or Sonny Edwards and some of the guys you find, he's still got a lot of growing up to do. Those guys are a little bit older than him as well. So I think for me, I want to try and just continue to hone him, win some stuff, continue to grow, have a few more fights before we kind of break him loose a little bit more. So he's only 9-0, maybe, I don't know, another 5-6 fights. We see where he is at 15. As you saw the other day, what's his name? Some Hatton's son, what is it? Campbell Hatton. He only had an area title fight after 15, 16, 17 fights. You know what I mean? And he come up short there. So, but by the time Alfie gets to that I think we'll go out and then come back in and look for those kind of smaller titles after. We'll probably look for the Commonwealth, so Commonwealth Silver, the IBOs, WB, anything else that will give us higher ranking, and then just slowly move into position and then come back around. But I mean, they took their time with that. He come up short. We don't want to do that because, you know, he's got the backing of TV behind him. We want to get to that position where we've done a lot of the hard work ourselves, and then we've got someone behind him that can back him, maybe a TV promoter. So let's see. But you know, this game is for the long haul, and you got to have thick skin. You got to be mentally tough, and You got to work your socks off, man. If you want to, he's got a great backing with the fan base. He's got sells a hell of a lot of tickets, does a lot for his community and the kids. But now he's just got to continue doing it in the ring, and he's doing that so far. So yeah, pretty pleased with him.
He's definitely got the team behind him, and I'm sure you'll manage him the right way, Dean. So we look forward to seeing where that goes. Just one final question before I let you go. I appreciate your time, Dean. I know you've been on it for a while. I'm sure you want to get back to you. But Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. What do you make?
No, I think Mike Tyson, man, too old, man. I don't know. They're in it for the money, man. I don't know what's going on. But everyone says he's going to do a job. I just think, why would Jake Paul's got a brand? He's building a brand. He's probably going to pay Mike Tyson off to try and take a role. But I read somewhere Mike Tyson said he's going in there to punch his head in and get him out of the sport of boxing. But I think, he's done good. He's getting his fighters paid very well. He's done good stuff when his fighters are, that's Amanda Serrano's she's got the highest pay check, she's ever got under him. And a few of the other fighters, they're getting paid well because obviously he brings numbers. So, they're getting their fighters good bread. But in far as that match goes, it's an awful match. 57 and some young man. Doesn't make sense, for me. There's so many other guys he could have faced, but he wants to pick Mike Tyson. But in terms of business, it makes good sense. But they've got some crazy rules. You can't get knocked out, 18-ounce gloves, headgear. I don't know. What's the point? It's like it is an exhibition-y kind of thing. I don't know what. And I don't know if I read somewhere about some nonsense tag team thing. Did you read that?
I haven't seen that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes around. You don't know how true
you don't know what to take as gospel, but it is a bit frustrating, I guess. But I mean, look, kudos to them if they can put it off of me. But I watched Tyson versus what's the other Hall of Famer? What's his name?
Roy Jones.
Yeah, and that weren't the greatest spectacle, man. Those two old guys knocking around. I see Tyson with a cane inside the other day, just about can walk. Am I meant to now believe he can go in the ring and bounce around and do the job? I don't know, man. But let's see anyway. I'll watch it after the fact. Hopefully he doesn't get himself knocked out or anything or damage himself. You know what I mean? But he could go in there and knock him out. Who knows? He could bet money on himself. If Jake Paul loses, he wins if he loses. So it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I think there's a lot of people hoping that Tyson can go in there and roll back the years. But we'll see.
We'll have to see. Exactly.
Dean Whyte, it's been an absolute pleasure. So
pleasure as well, my friend. Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Cheers, my man.